Hello everybody and welcome again to another tutorial. Maybe you remember, or maybe you've seen my last tutorial for you where I explained and showed to you how you can do this lovely dress design cutout for your tunic, for your dress, for your blouse, wherever you need it. Today it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Although, again, that depends on you if it's really more difficult, because I made a real fancy design here, as you can see. That is not necessary for you to do as well. You can just as well do it straight, but it's the same kind of work that you have to do to get this result, no matter if you make a straight line or if you put curves in or whatever. And I will show you at the same time how you can finish it totally off all the way around on your dress, on your blouse, wherever you want it. So what exactly do you have to do to get this lovely designer cutout for yourself? To explain to you from the start again why this particular neck front is so nice is because of the inside. You can see here, of course, you do have your shoulder seams visible, but the rest of the inside looks so tidy, looks so perfect, exclusive practically, because you don't have any seams here whatsoever. It's really cleaned off. And now when we turn it around, which you've just seen on the doll already, you have this fantastic designed cutout for your dress, which is a little bit more difficult to do, I admit that. But if you don't want it so difficult, then just draw a straight line here. The same on the other side for the first start maybe. And then later you can build up by doing what you ever want exactly for your part. So, let me show you how to do it.
As we like to say in Germany, there are many ways that lead to Rome. And that's exactly the same as well when you do some sewing, when you do a pattern. So, to do this lovely neck design, first of all, please draw a long right angle. The width of the angle depends on how wide you want to make this lapel that's on the front of your neck. I decided I want my finished width of 3.5 centimeters. That means I'm drawing this right angle 3.5 centimeters wide. And the length I do much longer than the actual length of my front will be, so I can cut it later to the length that I need. Now I need on both sides of the long sides a guideline, which I will draw on 1 centimeter width. I will only mark it quite fine because it's only a helping line for later, which we then will totally ignore. But I hope you can see it anyway, but I'm not drawing it as thick as I draw everything else. So, as I said, on the other side you do exactly the same. Draw down a 1 centimeter from your edge of your right ankle. Latest by now you have to make a decision which kind of curves or corners you like to draw. So I had a look at all my working tools, and to my idea I found the right one with this particular curve to use for my design. So I will go about 1 centimeter down from the top, because I have to consider that maybe I have to cut the shoulder slightly sideways, and I don't want to start my drawing right away in that curve for that reason. So go down 1 centimeter or even 1.5. And then put your ruler, whichever one you got, onto exactly that point on the outside, and then keep turning your ruler until you see it hits exactly that help line that you just draw. And now and mark it exactly from line to line. And now it gets easy. You have this point there, you hold your corner onto there, look for your helping line and do exactly the same. And that you do all the way down to the bottom as far as you can draw a full circle into this part. And of course, then we have to do exactly the same on the other side. There again, on the other side, you also have the choice. Do you want them exactly opposite of each other? Or do you want to have them slightly in a different position? But if you want them like me on the same height, then make in the right angle a little mark on one or on all points for yourself. Usually one is enough already, but it makes it, of course, very, very easy if you put them exactly opposite of your pointed corner that you got there already. But as I said before, you can also put your curve then in a different position. It's all up to you because it's your design and you do with it what you like to do with it. All right, now you see all my marks. So all I have to do again, start approximately 1 centimeter from the top. And now I'm holding it down there. But even now, if I turn it towards my help line, you see I will have a centimeter standing over on the top, as you can see that there. Now my curves are opposite of each other, and I continue doing exactly the same down to the bottom of this pattern that I'm making. And don't forget, this pattern is a pattern without the seams allowances on the left and the right side, which you later on have to add. But you see that while we go along. So meanwhile, I already cut a pattern out exactly in this drawing as I did it, with a slightly thicker material because that's better than for the drawing. Now it's time to look at your front and your back pattern and to make decisions, first of all, of how deep you would like to have your front cut out done. I decided I mark mine on 16 centimeters down from my top neck part, as you can see here. Then I make this decision, how far over on my shoulder would I like to do the cut opening, and I make a mark by 4 centimeters. You can make this less or more, whatever you want. But now it's very important, do exactly the same right away on your back part, because if you forget that, nothing will fit, because that's got to be even again on the shoulder. So from the neck line, you mark exactly the same width, whichever width you decide on. Make your mark, in my case 4 centimeters, because later on you also have to cut the neck part slightly out different on lower down or higher up, how you want. And now it's time to take the pattern that you just made. And it's so nice and easy to see now how you can change this around. I'm on this particular pattern, I do not have the seam allowance on yet. That's why I just made this little mark there. But that also means that I can put my corner from my pattern exactly onto my point right there. And when I put that there now, as you see, then you can look again before you make any finished decisions, how deep you like to go down with your cut open for the front. You can push it around, you can close it farther in so it's not going down as deep as you can see it on mine. But therefore you're getting much higher there. You can see that. It changes the total look immediately, but it's all possible. And it's the same work of sewing and cutting as I show you now. But I decided on the bottom I want to be even 2 centimeters inwards from my 16 centimeters downwards draw that I did. So all I do now is onto my front pattern I draw exactly this one on, so I can check it as well and can look, is this really how I like this? So this part will be away then, and I can see, okay, that's how I like it, or I must change it again. That is all your decision again. But now we got to finish this part towards the middle fold that you have in your front. And again, I look around until I find one that I really like to even this out nicely towards the middle. And this particular tool of mine gives me the perfect round that I want there, the perfect curve. And the same on the other side. I must turn this around and look, or even take a different tool, whatever I have lying around, until I find the one that matches this or that I like. So finish all your drawings until you're satisfied. Then take your black already prepared pattern and look that you got to change the bottom, because you remember before I only had it approximately to there, but this round I didn't have on yet. So I just pushed that through with a little wheel and I cut it out and I tacked it on. So my pattern now is completely finished, so I can finally start with cutting my blouse. I prepared a little bit here already. You can see I draw some extra lines to do my approximate cutting for the extra pieces that I need, leaving enough allowance for the seams that I will need around all my curves. On the inner side 1 centimeter, on the outside you can leave a little bit more. And here you can see I cut already my front piece, and where I had the line there, I cut it through, so that piece is gone. It's a leftover. The same on the shoulder. I cut the shoulder part already and I did a drawing. I didn't do it 4 centimeters towards the middle back. I only did it 2.5 centimeters in the height, because I don't want it to fall down so far in the back. But I as well cut that piece off. It's also a leftover for whatever, or for the trash can. Now for this piece you will need 2 pieces to be cut in the fold, the same as you do have the front. One of the pieces you have to put some interfacing on. I've chosen a very thin one because I want the material to really fall nice, but I need a little bit of strengthening. The other piece I cut the same size, but without the interfacing on. The same for my back. I cut it 5.5 centimeters wide, because you remember I said my full width from my front part will be finished 3.5 centimeters. That's why for my back I want also 3.5 centimeters there in the middle, but I got there a centimeter and there a centimeter seam allowance. That means my piece, my part that I have to cut, has to be 5.5 centimeters wide, and of course exactly in the form of my back part. Meanwhile, I finished off my shoulders with the overlock, because they're not going to be finished off with a lining or anything like that. The same I did to the back seam, which will be in the middle. I cleaned it off with the overlock. And to make my coming jobs a little bit easier, I also put an interfacing onto the 2 little parts for my back for the neck. And those 2 little parts I will iron over the bottom part by 1 centimeter, which makes my next job very easy. Now take your front and your part with the interfacing on and draw exactly with the pattern that you made the design on that you've just made and created. And make sure that in the front middle you really are exactly in line, so your middle will be in the middle. That at the moment is only a little check to make sure your front will fit to the piece that you're preparing now. So take your other interfacing piece that you cut, the same kind, and now we go on the sewing machine and 1 stitch along the outside line that you got there. So I've done this already by now. I show you from this side so you can see the seam maybe even better. Now take your scissors and cut along that line on the outside that you've just stitched by leaving approximately 4 to maximum 5 millimeters of seam allowance standing on that edge, because that will make it very nice and easy to turn over. Now there you see, that's the first part cut very evenly. The more even you cut it, the better it will be. And don't have the stitch on your sewing machine too big for this, because then the round parts will not come out so nicely. Now I went to my ironing, and here you can see, make sure when you iron it that your edge will not roll out to the proper side, to the right side. Rather let it roll over to the left side. Already that's what it looks like after you ironed it. Now pick it up again, take your scissors and cut off the inside, the one without the drawing, to approximately 1 centimeter that you're leaving standing in there, all the way around, so that you can properly see your drawing that you did. In case if you're finished with the cutting and you see, maybe I don't see my curves so well like in this particular point here, then pick up the scissors again and just cut out a little bit more so you can really see your pattern, your design exactly on this part that you did, as you can see it right here. So much more there isn't to do now. We're practically finished. Stitch your shoulders together, maybe iron the seams apart so they're nice and flat. And now stitch the little shoulders together that you have here on your two parts, from your back and from your front. Now it doesn't matter if they're at the moment not totally fit together, but important is that you take your ironed over edge exactly together with the seam that you have there from your front part. They got to fit. The 1 centimeter ironed over part from the back and the seam from your front. And if you're allowed, like me, 1 centimeter for the seam, then just go over by 1 centimeter. Here you do the same. You put the seam together with the ironed over edge. They got to be exactly on top of each other. And you stitch your 1 centimeter little shoulder for this part to finish off your front. You can iron those two seams a little bit apart as well now, because then you can see it will nicely turn over in this round to go over the shoulder to stitch it. Now it's time to take your front, which you prepared, and you put it on your machine with the right size, with a good size, downwards. The seam is looking at you from the shoulder. The same with this part. Also, the seam is looking at you, the drawing is looking at you. All the good sides are lying downwards on the machine. Now put some pins in. Depending on how good you're sewing, maybe you put 4, 5, 6 pins in, on the shoulder one, on the start, wherever. I put one in the middle on the bottom, and I start in the back middle to sew my 1 centimeter seam allowance. So getting to the shoulder, right away you got to look. You want those two seams to lie exactly on top of each other, because you got a curve there on the neck, and if you only slightly push that over and it doesn't fit, the curve will not fit so well. And as soon as you got there, then all you have to do is put edge on edge from your materials, from the cutting, and follow the line that you draw from whichever design you made. I haven't said this yet to you, but you don't need to make rounds like I did. You can also make like a zigzag design. Maybe if you have a certain design like stripes on your material, then a zigzag could also look very, very nice and very good. So take your time going around whichever design you made and finish it off until you finally get to the other side of your middle in the back. If the needles are in your way when you pass them, you can pull them out already sometimes, otherwise you scratch your arms, which is not nice. When you get to the second shoulder, make sure the shoulder got to fit on top of each other. And there you are, you got to the end. Now take the rest of the needles out, the pins out, and look what you've done if you're satisfied so far. Because now we got to do some more cutting. Wherever you got around there, like in the back neck, put some little cuts in towards the seam, but don't cut the seam through. On straight parts you don't need to cut it in. That is not necessary. And now on this round you have to do exactly the same what we've been doing on the other side before. You have to cut it down so you only got 4 to maximum 5 millimeters of material left in all those round bits all the way around, as you can see it right here on my picture. Now we got to go to the iron again and iron it over. There you go. That's it already. Now you see all the little seams in between these two materials now. And all you got to do now is go along the edge. If necessary, put some pins in to make sure you're not pulling the material in any wrong direction, because you want it to lie flat and really elegant and nice looking when you're finished with it. As you can see, I started in the back middle, and evenly and slowly I go along my edge with the same width, 1 millimeter approximately, until I get all the way to the end. So this is it for today. I've showed you another possibility of how to do a nice designer neck front, and I hope you could follow every step that I showed you and enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to your comments as always, and maybe you even have the possibility of giving me 1 or 2 thumbs up. That would make my day. So I would like to say goodbye for now, and please come around again. I say tschüss.